It's Neil, and welcome again to the Vinyl Whisperer. A long-forgotten 45 RPM vinyl record by a Scottish folk artist actually paved the way toward the formation of Led Zeppelin, one of the most enduring groups in rock, and certainly one of the most beloved groups in rock. How did that happen? Well, the artist was a guy named Donovan, and he had a lot of folk pop hits in the mid-60s, and he enlisted the services of a studio musician by the name of Jimmy Page, who had done a number of sessions before reaching Donovan's agenda. Most notably, in 1964, Jimmy Page played guitar on the theme to Goldfinger by Shirley Bassey, which was the leading track from the James Bond film at the time. And it's still a popular song. Page's guitar work was pretty much buried in the mix, but it was a good job for a studio musician and a good paying gig. Well, he was enlisted for the session with Donovan to record a song called Sunshine Superman. And one of the organizers of all the session musicians was a guy named John Paul Jones, a bassist who would also regularly used as a session man on a number of records. And he also enlisted Jimmy Page to work on this track with Donovan. But this turned out to be a turning point for Jimmy Page in his career. Number one, he discovered the great chemistry that he had with John Paul Jones in that session. And number two, to Donovan's complete credit, he gave Jimmy Page a wide open leash to try whatever he wanted that would make that song sound heavy. Being given a license to explore was not something that Jimmy Page heard too much as a regular session musician in the early 60s. And when Donovan gave him that open field, Jimmy seized the moment. For Sunshine Superman, his guitar solo was unique in the sense that Jimmy manipulated the sound control knob on his guitar to actually make it sound like a weeping slide guitar. It was pretty unique for the time, and it actually influenced a lot of the psychedelia music that followed after this record was recorded. Donovan's psychedelic vision for the song Sunshine Superman gave a high-profile canvas to Jimmy Page to treat the guitar not as just an instrument, but as a sound effects generator. And that was something that Page explored expertly on this cut and elevated him on his way to becoming the guitar hero that we all know. The other important part about this recording process is the fact that Donovan completely unintentionally created a blueprint for Led Zeppelin that would take shape only a little while later. This was recorded in 1965, and Page moved on to the Yardbirds in 66, and then we all know what happened after the Yardbirds. Page took his colleague from those sessions, John Paul Jones, to form Led Zeppelin, and the other pieces fell in place. An interesting vinyl footnote about this song and Jimmy Page's performance is the 45 showed Page's solo at about 1 minute and 15 seconds, but the version that appeared later on Donovan's Greatest Hits LP allowed that solo to go an extra minute or so longer than what you heard on the 45. Donovan's sessions provided a laboratory where Jimmy Page on guitar and John Paul Jones on bass were able to see how cleanly they interacted with each other and how a heavy guitar sound could actually be a good blueprint for a supergroup model in the future. Sometimes music history doesn't change with a stadium concert or a platinum album. Sometimes it changes with one little ordinary 45. The next time you're flipping through a record bin and you see Sunshine Superman, don't think of Donovan. think of a young session guitarist named Jimmy Page and the road that would eventually lead to Led Zeppelin. Well, that's it. Thanks for joining us. Please support our channel and subscribe.